the New Orleans Saints needed a quarterback. Before they acquired Geno Smith in Oakland, Las Vegas, they needed a quarterback. New Orleans needed a quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers needed a quarterback. The Giants had the number 3 overall pick. And then they had a pick in the second round and traded up to the first round to get a quarterback and still chose somebody other than him in Jackson Dart. Yo, that's not about football. That's about something else.
Yeah. Big Boy's Neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen A. Smith in the neighborhood. Stephen A., welcome to the neighborhood.
My brother, what's going on,
I'm
man?
good,
Glad
man.
to finally be here, man.
Man, it is a pleasure to have you in here.
Man, please. The honor's all mine. I've been waiting years for this.
Bro, it is a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it is.
This is one of them times, man, where this is our first sit down, right? This is the perfect time for me to sit down. The sun, moon, and stars came together.
Yeah.
And it's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start, but I know at the end, I want to say I got it all.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's do it.
NFL draft, man, which is currently on our heads right now.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell happened at the NFL draft? So as we're sitting here today with first round, second round, Shedeur.
Well, Shedeur's the story.
Yeah.
I mean, Travis Hunter's a bad boy. His teammate, the Browns traded down for the number 2 pick. Jacksonville traded up to get him, and he's going to do some good things, not great things in the NFL. You see a lot of other things that's been going on. Cam Ward going number 1 in Tennessee, stuff like that. But the story is Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
And the fact that this brother hasn't been picked in the first 3 rounds, that is a crime. Mm-hmm. It is a disgrace. And, you know, the NFL looks really, really bad. I'm not talking about the league office, Roger Goodell, and all of those cats, because when you consider the things that they do, whether it's the Rooney Rule and some of the things they got with private equity people coming into place and involving retired players and stuff like that, there's a lot of good things that the league office strives to do. Jay-Z being in charge of their halftime entertainment for the Super Bowl and all of this other stuff. There's a lot of things the NFL league office is doing. But obviously, they also provide cover for the owners. And in this case, there is no cover. There is, as far as I'm concerned, there is clear collusion that has gone on amongst the owners, in my opinion, where, and I shouldn't say collusion. Let me take that back, because you don't even have to. It's like understood. We don't want him because we don't like his daddy. We don't like his dad. That's what this is all about. And that's not to say that primetime Deion Sanders can be completely absolved from blame here, albeit unintentionally. Mm-hmm. The man is arguably the greatest athlete we have ever seen. Clearly the greatest cornerback that ever played football, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer. One of the greatest athletes, and if not the greatest athlete we've ever seen. And the man is a football savant. Mm-hmm. Incredibly charismatic. Has a lot of cachet, particularly since now he's the head coach at Colorado, and they've had some success over the last year. He's had the college football world transfixed on him, and because of his resonance and how he can impact the situation, I think that there are league owners that don't want any part of that. They don't want to have a quarterback coming in, and they got to worry about his dad making noise about what they're doing, how they're doing it, how effective they are or are not.
Right.
All of those things come into play, and then ultimately, you're an executive and you've got chosen a coach, but the audience is clamoring for dad to come coach his son and all of this other stuff. All of those things are things that an executive or an ownership group is going to be worried about, because they're about having control over their own product. Where Prime is not blameless is that he did initially state he wanted some say in terms of where his son was going to go, that if he didn't like the situation his son was in, he was going to pull him up out of there, stuff like that. On the NFL level, can't do that. And even though it has nothing to do with what I'm about to bring up, it's almost tantamount to Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. Amen.
From the standpoint of,
I thought the same thing.
I tweeted it last night.
And I won't even say the good old boy, but just the circle that gets formed, bro.
Well, when you do things or say things that can be perceived as compromising the governing body, the governing body is going to set their sights on you and say, nah, it ain't going down like that. And I think that that is what has happened, and Shedeur Sanders is suffering because of it. This was a top 20 prospect in the National Football League. I've been covering sports for 30 years plus. I have never seen a projected first-round pick drop like this. 5 quarterbacks, as of the time of taping this show, have been picked. There was speculation he was going to be number 1.
Right.
Now, ultimately, Cam Ward, it was always him or Cam Ward. But how the hell you go from speculating about him or Cam Ward to Jackson Dart and Milroe and Jalen Milroe and all of these cats being picked ahead of him? How that happened? The Browns needed a quarterback. The New Orleans Saints needed a quarterback. Before they acquired Geno Smith in Oakland, Las Vegas, they needed a quarterback. New Orleans needed a quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers needed a quarterback. The Giants had the number 3 overall pick. And then they had a pick in the second round and traded up to the first round to get a quarterback and still chose somebody other than him in Jackson Dart. Yo, that's not about football. That's about something else.
Yeah. I had this conversation yesterday, and I thought that it was right in my face. Yeah. And the person was like, nah, I don't think it's. I'm like, how could you not think it's, because the first thing I brought up, I was like, man, and we can go all the, the cards, but the first thing I thought, I was like, man, they probably didn't want to deal with Dion, or it was,
people were getting on me, and I even had some of my own colleagues working for me at ESPN saying, look, stock drops all the time. Kirk Cousins was a 4th-round pick. Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick. Usually injuries or off-the-field issues force you to plummet, none of which applies to Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is not injured. Shedeur Sanders has had 0 off-the-field issues. But we walking into the draft, and I'm hearing, well, his interview at the NFL Scouting Combine turned somebody off. Oh, he's coming across as brash and arrogant. Right. Oh, we don't know how coachable he is. Then yesterday, I'm hearing, well, one of the other things is that we don't know how much truth we're getting from the program, because usually we'll send our evaluators down to a program. They'll talk to the coach, the program, et cetera, and you find out everything you need to know about the kid. But we're not going to get that from Colorado because his father runs the program. So because his daddy runs the program, we're not sure that what we're getting is honest. And I'm going like this. But did you see the 4,000-plus yards passing? Did you see 37 touchdowns and 10 interceptions? Did you see the fact that they went from 4-8 to 9-4? Did you see what he did at Jackson State before, an HBCU, before he went to the Pac-12 and then the Big 12? Did you see that? I mean, you got 2 eyes. You're paid to evaluate somebody's skill set. And I think where the NFL, and I'm not talking about the league office, I'm talking about the owners. I think where they made a huge, huge mistake is that everyone is going to think collusion.
Right.
Because you can't say there's 5 quarterbacks in the draft that were better than Shedeur Sanders. And the fact that you allowed this to drop when there's no off-the-field issues, okay, and there's no injuries, and you allowed this man to plummet to that degree is an incredible indictment against those owners in the National Football League, because it's saying it's not about football.
Right.
It's about something else that you're not talking to us about. And in the world of sports, you pride yourself on things being a meritocracy. And clearly it's not. It's that proverbial glass ceiling that we were supposed to have escaped. And suddenly we've learned, we can't get around that either. It's still there in the year 2025.
What happens now with him, with Shedeur?
If somebody like the Pittsburgh Steelers come and they pick him and you playing under Mike Tomlin, I think you're good to go. He's got to end up at the right spot. But the bottom line is that you're going to move forward, but people like me and others, we ain't going to forget.
Right.
And we're going to make sure the public don't forget what you did to this kid. He has no off-the-field issues. We don't even know if he had a speeding ticket. Seriously. He has no off-the-field issues. On the field, we saw this brother play. You can sit up there and say that, okay, we think this guy's better. He's got more athleticism. He has kind of elements that you can't teach. A guy like Mel Kiper Jr., my colleague, who's a football guru and a draft guru, the best. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you right now, I've been covering sports for 30-plus years. You want to know about these athletes and their skill set. It's all he does, and it's all he has done for 40-plus years. You understand what I'm saying? He has Shedeur Sanders as the best quarterback in the draft. Number one. He said, I understand if he doesn't go number one because Cam Ward has things you can't teach. The athleticism, the motor, the arm strength. We got that. I will remind you, guys like Jamarcus Russell had arm strength. Ryan Leaf had arm strength, but they still picked Peyton Manning. Yes, there's been plenty of cats, okay? So we get that part. Again, not going number one, not even going top 10. That happens. Dropping later on in the first round, that happens. You're talking about 97, 98, 99, 100 picks, and you didn't pick a top 20 prospect at the most important position in football. This is not somebody that was a running back. This is not somebody that was a defensive, that was a safety or something. This wasn't that. This is a quarterback who was projected as a top 20 talent in the nation. And he doesn't get picked in the first 3 rounds? Nah.
When
this is about primetime Deion Sanders. That's what this is about.
Stephen A., when you were watching this and you seen the drop and the decline, you already knew.
Oh, well, I've been saying it. I said it before the draft.
Yeah.
I said it before the draft. And so listen.
Did you think it could happen?
I didn't think it could happen like this. I was pissed off at the thought that he was going to end up a second rounder. Mm-hmm. Because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I want the Pittsburgh Steelers to draft him at number 21. Now, they drafted defensive tackle instead, and I got that part because they got a bevy of needs. But, damn it, you need a quarterback. You ain't had one since Big Ben Roethlisberger. And his last 2 years in Pittsburgh wasn't that damn impressive. You got Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. And I don't want to see these people. I need a quarterback with potential. I need a cat that I can believe in. I'm watching Shedeur Sanders, and I'm like, okay, arm strength is good enough, but not great. Motor's good enough, but not great. Brock Purdy, how'd that work out? Couple Super Bowl appearances. Kirk Cousins, how'd that work out? I mean, I'm watching a few examples now. I'm sitting there. Jalen Hurts, athleticism,
right,
but wasn't an elite passer. Was at Alabama, gets benched.
We've seen
National championship game, Tua got to come up in there. He ultimately stays there. Model citizen, great guy, great character. Ultimately transitions and transfers to Oklahoma, takes them to the college football playoffs, gets drafted. He got drafted in the second round. Now think about what they're saying about Shedeur Sanders. Accuracy, poise. Got sacked 94 times. Now, they sitting up there, he pats the ball when he throws, before he throws. That's a clear signal to a defender. Oh, okay. Oh, not only does he pat the ball before he throws, but on top of all of that, guess what? He also holds on to the ball too much. Okay. But the brother took 94 sacks. So you're getting pummeled because your offensive line sucks. You're getting pummeled so badly that Deion Sanders said that it got to a point in his first year at Colorado where he had to start thinking about himself as a father, not a coach,
right,
because of what he was exposing his son to because he wasn't protecting him, because the offensive line was so bad. This is how bad it was. What does Shedeur Sanders do? He still stays in the pocket, still flinging that football, which means he's not scared, which means he's durable, which means he has poise. Then we take into account his genes. Deion Sanders, elite cornerback. Oh, by the way, played wide receiver. Oh, by the way, was a specialist, not only as a kickoff returner, but a punt returner. This is Deion Sanders we're talking about, who's also a football savant and showed so not just as a football player, not just as an analyst on CBS and then the NFL Network, but then as a coach.
Yes, sir.
And you down on this kid? Really? That's about daddy.
Mm-hmm.
That's about him. That's about the fact that you have people, and that's a bigger subject, Big Boy, where we talk about organizations. And what I try to do, because I've been in this game long enough, is to try to provide life lessons about life in corporate America. In the age of radio shows, podcasting, and all of this other stuff, everybody like to walk around like some of these cats with their podcast. I run my own show. I don't answer to nobody. Not recognizing everybody answers to somebody. I don't give a damn whether it's an advertiser, a sponsor, some executive, corporation, or literally a boss. You answer to somebody unless you're paying yourself or you literally can live with no money.
Right.
You are answering to somebody.
Right.
And so what I try to do is I try to peel, I try to go behind the curtain and provide some folks the insight that I have by doing this for over 30 years. And I'm like, I'm not faulting Deion, but it's not an accident that Deion, who wanted to coach, has never coached in the National Football League. It's not an accident that this man was an All-American at Florida State and they didn't hire him, knowing he could recruit, knowing that he could go out and get cats to come to your program. You still didn't pick him, okay? And he had to go to an HBCU like Jackson State before he ultimately got the opportunity to be here at Colorado. There's a lot of that going on. And so there are certain things that happen because the political landscape serves to influence you in a very profound way. And that's what happens with these owners. And I'll say this last one because this is very, very important. A lot of people don't remember this, but I reported this when it happened. So Colin Kaepernick's taking a knee. And Colin Kaepernick is protesting police brutality and how minorities are being treated in this country,
peacefully,
et cetera, like that, peacefully. He violated no bylaws of the NFL, violated no laws whatsoever, didn't interfere with the actual game. His kneeling was during the national anthem before the game, okay? Didn't mess with anything that happened at kickoff or beyond, did none of that, okay? And I'm bringing this up because during that time, most people didn't pay attention to this outside of the world of sports. The NFL had a television contract. Do you know that while this was going on with Colin Kaepernick or in the immediate aftermath of it, each owner one day, just sitting there minding their business, drinking a cup of tea like I am now, just chilling, were handed a check, all 32 owners, $246 million apiece for their television deal. And they complained that it wasn't $250 and blamed Kaepernick. The distraction that he was, they had calculated, cost them anywhere to $5 to $10 million apiece. So they weren't counting the 246 that they got.
Right.
They were counting the 5 to 10 that they did it. And they said, that bastard did this to us. We ain't letting him back. So I'm pointing all of this out on First Take. And even though I love my peeps, you understand what I'm saying? I'm black and I'm proud, but some of us get on my goddamn nerves sometimes, all right? Because they're not listening to what I'm saying. When I went off about it, when Jay-Z paved the way for him to get that tryout where 26 teams showed up, 18 of them sent African Americans from their player personnel department to scout him. And I was literally told before the workout, he'd have to throw the football into the stands to not have a job in 2 weeks. All he had to do was show up. And this brother didn't show up. And his girl was encouraging him not to show up. And I said, and I went on there and everybody was getting on me. I was viral because I said, it's over. It's over. His career is done in the National Football League. You'll never see him again. When he went to the high school gym or the high school football field instead of showing up at the Atlanta Falcons workout facility. Very well. Remember that. He didn't let them know until about 2 hours beforehand that he was going to have it an hour and 20 minutes away. And they didn't have the facilities, the tapes, and all of this other stuff that the Falcons facility had. And it was set up by the National Football League. And he was complaining about some waiver that they had come up with that he would have to sign. And it was a waiver that nobody else had to sign. This is the difference between people who talk and people who cover. I cover the league. Why do I bring that up? Because I'm on the phone with the general counsel for the National Football League a half hour before I went on First Take. And they said, quote, "You damn right, Stephen, he has a waiver that nobody else has." Because the league has never conducted a workout for an individual player. That's a team's job. This is an exception. So since it's us that's doing this as opposed to an individual team, because all the individual teams were scared that if they said he wasn't good enough, they would be called racist, the league said, we'll do it. And the league said, of course we had to sign a waiver. Steven, he just sued us, and we settled with him. Who sues you, settles with you, and then you going to give him a job? Of course we had a waiver for him. I went on the air, and I reported all of this. And I got us. Stephen A. Man, I don't know what's wrong with Stephen A. Man. What do you mean what's wrong? I'm giving you the information. I'm telling you what they're saying, verbatim. And they ain't said anonymously, big boy. They said this General Counsel of the National Football League. You tell folks we said this. They weren't hiding. This is exactly what we did. Here's why. I'm bringing all of that up to say, understand the dynamic that we're dealing with here. Owners crying over being cost $5 to $10 million when they just got a check for $246 million. Owners thinking about control and having their product. Owners who's sitting there and they looking at brothers all over the place that's getting paid, especially at the quarterback position. They don't feel compelled to do anything. And the only reason they felt compelled to do something for Kaepernick is because Jay-Z said, nah, we ain't going out like that. Well, you mean we don't need them. So what you paying the other quarterbacks? You going to give him a try. I can't work with you if you ain't going to do that. That's the only reason they did that. And Kaepernick didn't show up. So that was exactly the excuse they were looking for. So now we fast forward to this. It's the latest. Owners ain't changing. What brother you see owning an NFL team?
Right.
It is what it is. That's the climate. And remember, billionaires, particularly white ones, ain't sitting in front of Big Boy or Stephen A. or anybody else having these conversations, allowing you to be privy to everything that they're thinking and what's going on and what's the mode behind their thinking. They don't give a damn. They could care less. They run the shop. And when you gave the impression that you're going to be able to have that kind of impact that could compromise their prowess, they ain't going to hesitate to remind you it ain't going down like that. I believe that is what happened with primetime Deion Sanders and his son Shedeur. And it's a damn shame. It ain't right. I don't like it one bit. Deion deserves better with what he's done for the NFL. And that's my brother, and I love him to death. But I'm not surprised.
Thank you for coming into the neighborhood.
Man, the honor was all mine.
God willing, we'll see you again, bro.
No doubt. I'm around anytime, man. No
all right.
problem.
Remember you said that. I'll see you Tuesday.
All right.
or you know what? I'll see you through the playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And back in the neighborhood.
There we go. Or at least call me up. What the hell's going on with the Lakers?
Yeah,
they might
man.
lose this damn series, man.
You think so?
They might. No, I don't think so.
What happened to the Lakers in 5?
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
It's his thing.
It ain't.
Nah.
And on a lighter note, that kind of makes me pissed that he is off the air.
Right.
OKC, UFC, KFC,
Lakers in 5.
Hell no,
Right.
they done lost. It can't be less than 6 now. I'd have had a field
Lakers
day.
in 6.
I'd have had a field day.
Shit,
You know,
man.
Yeah,
It'd be greater later though.
Yeah.
It will be greater later. Stephen A. Smith, thank you for
right.
coming into the neighborhood, my brother.
My pleasure. Man.
All righty now, Big Boy's Neighborhood.